Have you ever wondered why I always agree to anything that you continue to question was ever signed in your name? Not the half yes. That will depend on how well you behave in the upcoming quarter. Not the conditional yes that is discreetly removed when things get tough. Not the courteous yes that, in a different guise, really implies no. My son's blood was inscribed at a desk that existed before any constellation, and I witnessed my entire yes final. While these words are still in the air around you, take a moment to get closer. You will be presented with a single specific sentence, an old apostle that I once told him to write onto parchment for a community that has just suffered a setback. And as you blink, a single phrase will fall into your hand that will allay any suspicions that the document with your name on it was somehow removed from the registration. Keep near you. Nothing is rushed at this hour. All of my promises have already been fulfilled. Right now you are reading the signature. You are visible to me. My writing has begun to resemble a piece of paper you constantly read to make sure the words are still there. Before the coffee has cooled, a daughter's doubt reappears when she unfolds the same letter at her kitchen table in the morning. Her eyes follow the same handwriting. At a stoplight, a son rereads a poetry on his phone and questions whether it was created for someone more courageous. A spouse doubts himself if he just made the whole thing up out of necessity as he relives the morning he felt my word land on his chest 5 years ago. After a long day, a young woman drives home and tries to recall the exact words I once said into her ears. She discovers that the words are flickering at the corners, blurring like an old image after an album has been opened too many times. One of you has been stealthily taking my message down from the wall across the river, since staring at it had started to hurt more than if I didn't look at it. I haven't been blind to any of those tiny movements. I am not impatient with the rereading. Tenderness does. I have been receiving each rereading as a tiny gesture of unyielding love. By now, a lot of believers who speak louder than you have switched to simpler language. You haven't. Unbelief is not the same as a reread. A beloved can verify that what was written hasn't been withdrawn by time by rereading it. What I have signed cannot be undone by time. I created time, and it has never had the power to alter my handwriting. For a single calm breath, place your palm softly on the area of your throat where the words originate. A yes leaves your body through your throat. When a heart is let down by smaller signatures, it's also where a yes gets trapped. Observe that the muscle in question has been retaining more than it ought to. Your throat has been preparing for the possibility that what you once said out loud might not have been heard by anyone. For the duration of one breath, relax the little muscle. Give your throat a break. The force with which you proclaim my word is not holding it up. The person who initially spoke my word through your mouth is holding it up. The force with which you proclaim my word is not holding it up. The person who initially spoke my word through your mouth is holding it up. I also noticed something else. In order to modify my term downward and prevent future grief, small ways have crept into your interior. Once particular in your request, a blessing has evolved into an ambiguous gesture in the event that I fail to provide the specific. In your mind, a healing that you once named aloud has been renamed as something broader. Words that are good on their own, but that you started using as more subdued alternatives when the originals seemed too dangerous to continue using. I'm not offended by any of those minor downgrades. I completely understand why a broken heart trims its requests, but listen to this. Before you develop an unbreakable habit of cutting, the page still has my original word on it. Your voice shrank, but my signature did not. I'm going to return my original word to your grasp. It was not by coincidence that you began to distrust my word in a quiet way. It took a while to install. Your little soul learned the lesson when a parent made a small commitment early on and then gently let it disintegrate. Adults' words can occasionally vanish. In elementary school, a teacher put your name on a list of kids who would be honored during a ceremony that was abruptly canceled. At a coffee shop, a friend made a commitment during an emotional moment, but the next time the same emotion wasn't present, the vow was retracted. Somewhere in your 20s or 30s, a handshake cemented an agreement, and as the door closed, the terms were altered. Somewhere in your formation is a religious community, taught that receiving a word from heaven requires sufficient tithing, serving, praying, and smiling. Subsequently, a devoted individual in your vicinity buried the same assurance they had received. And the way you read every word I wrote subsequently was shattered by the funeral. I did not leave a bruise on the inner spot where words used to rest. However, I can clearly see the bruise. And my voice touches a still tender wound each time it gets close to that bruise. And before the heart can decide what to think, the throat braces. Permit me to intervene on your behalf against an inner narrator who has been criticizing you for far too long. After so many calendars have passed, the narrator sighs, "Your hope is childish, and mature believers no longer hold the same word." Growing in faith entails a dignified letting up of expectations. It is not my narrative. I have never narrated like this. Speech that comes from me does not make you feel uncomfortable when you read it again. It elevates the rereading. Every rereading is an act of confidence in and of itself. I have been sitting next to you at that page the entire time, peering over your shoulder, reading the lines with you, and never once getting frustrated about how many times you needed to confirm the writing was still there, even when your neck trembles around the syllables. Listen to this. The words of any human commitment are not as important as what I once said over your life. They are similar to one another on the outside. A moment of agreement between two faces, letters on paper with ink at the bottom. However, the molecules are different below. A human commitment takes assurance from an emotion that can wane by Sunday. Before the first human throat produced a syllable, the universe's construction was built from my speech. Two of these materials won't collapse in the same way. There is just no way for one of them to collapse. Somewhere in your formation, you received a teaching that implied my speech was comparable to a magazine subscription. Depending on whether your behavior filed the correct premium that week, it is renewable on a monthly basis. A decline in your dedication on a Tuesday halted the renewal according to that instruction. What I had said was subtly diminished into a smaller, dimmer replica of the original due to a missed morning of prayer. Respected believer, the total arrangement in that framework hung from a thin rope woven from the caliber of your weekly performance. In that photo, my speech served as a sort of temporary agreement that was posted in small text along the bottom edge and was only good as long as your virtue persisted. I do not speak in terms of mechanics. I've never used such mechanics. A picture of my speech has been hidden behind your ribs. Brittle, contingent, music readily revoked, independent on the course of your week. Additionally, I did not own the pencils used to draw that image. Some pencils were in the hands of folks who actually cared about you and were just sending the one sketch they had ever inherited. Louder speakers held other pens, purposefully employing contingency language since concerned music congregations write bigger checks than settled ones. The sketch is incorrect, regardless of where it originated. Gently tilt it against the ground. Put it away.